What's up, craft beer aficionados? Flying Brian J here. This is a podcast that I want to do, but I'm not really keen on making it super professional. So I'm just going to roll with it, do some live videos, and just kind of talk about craft beer and my experiences with craft beer. Meanwhile, I'm listening to a little bit of Coheed and Cambria while we do this. So if you want to play along, right now I'm listening to Coheed and Cambria, Welcome Home. So I'm going to keep doing that. I don't know how I want this podcast to go and flow, but let me tell you what I'm going to talk about here. So in the past week, I decided to start kegging my homebrew. Yeah, so give me a round of applause for that. That's pretty fun. I also decided to hone in on making a pale ale. So for the past 2 months, I've been working on a blonde. I've been working on a beer called, for a while I called it Big Lips, because it started out as a blonde. And then I used a malt profile that it looked like a pale ale, of course. Maybe even, it was just way too dark for a blonde. But I was shooting for the IBU of a pale ale. I was shooting for the IBU of a blonde, but it turned out to be the color and the Lovibond of a pale ale. So, but I wanted it to be a blonde, came out looking like a pale ale. I wrote the initials on the bottle, BL for blonde. Came out looking like that, a little too dark, too high a Lovibond. So then I named it Big Lips just so that my abbreviation on the bottle would work. Girlfriend wasn't too excited about Big Lips as a name. So then I decided to lower the Lovibond, lower the color, try to get it closer to a blonde wheelhouse. And I'm going to name it One for the Road. I just want it to be an easy drinking beer, one that my friends that are not craft beer aficionados, they could enjoy as well. So anyway, I've decided to turn my attention to a pale ale because I've got a bunch of friends that are craft beer lovers that they're into hoppy beers. Now, some of them like the IPAs, but I want to get in on that pale ale. I'm just going to go from there. So that's one thing. I've also decided to start kegging. The reason why I decided to start kegging was, one, man, bottling sucks. It takes, well, let's say the last time that I bottled my homebrew, I bottled 96 bottles. I bottled 2 5-gallon batches at once because they were with 2 different yeasts and they got to terminal gravity at the same time. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to do it on one day. I'll bottle these. It took me 3 to 4 hours to bottle all of that. And you're like, man, that's still a long time to just put 96. No, dude, I had to do it all by myself. I filled, I capped, and then cleaning the bottles. I clean them all. And then what I do normally with bottling is I just put a half a teaspoon of table sugar in each bottle rather than mixing corn sugar in and putting it. It works the same, similar, at least does the job. So it took a super long time. Excuse me. I don't want to do that anymore. Midwest Supplies, I know it's owned by Anheuser-Busch InBev, but that's what I use. They're reliable. They ship via UPS, so I'm sorry that more beer ships via FedEx, and FedEx sucks where I'm from. So I use Midwest Supplies. Anyway, the other day, they had a sale of 4 ball lock kegs for $120 used, not guaranteed. I was like, fucking, yep, this is my call. This is my call to start kegging. I decided to dive in on that. Sold out by the time I hit purchase. So then at that time I had my hopes up. I'm like, I'm gonna start kegging. But at that point too, I didn't have a kegerator or anything lined up for that. Nothing. But I'm like, these are on sale. I'm gonna get them and I'll worry about the fridge later. After that happened, I got my hopes up. I text my father, my dad, and I was like, hey, I knew my mom told me last weekend that they got a new refrigerator. And I was like, man, I text my dad. I said, hey, do you have an old refrigerator laying around? And he's like, actually, I do. Got 2 of them. You can have the oldest one of the 2. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do the damn thing. And it's one that has the fridge on the bottom, freezer on the top. Easily turned into a kegerator, right? So I asked him to send me some pictures. And then I used to brew with my buddy, my best friend, but he quit homebrewing with me. I text him and I'm super stoked about it. I'm like, look, man, I got a fridge. I'm about to turn this thing into a kegerator. And he's like, oh, I wish you would have told me. I'm getting rid of my refrigerator and we're getting a new one next weekend. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, how much would you want for your fridge? And he was like, man, I gave it to you for free. You just helped me haul the new one in. I'm I'm like, good golly, so now I've got options, and this is crazy. So I have him send me some pictures of it, and it turns out my buddy's refrigerator, it is all refrigerator. There's no freezer, so it's the same height as one of the combinations with fridge freezer, but it's all refrigerator, and that is beneficial because in this kegerator, the freezer for me was going to be useless. I was probably going to buy like a half a beef or something to put in the damn thing just so it wouldn't run the bill up, my electric bill. But now, and the other refrigerator, it doesn't have an individual control in the freezer, so I couldn't have just turned it all the way up to warm so I could put my bottle of craft beer in it. But my buddies, what I can do is put the kegs on the bottom, and then I still have 2 shelves on the top. I measured it, 2 shelves on the top to put bottles of craft beer. And since it's a full-size fridge, I mean, that we can fit a whole bunch of bottles of craft beer in that son of a gun. So that is super exciting for me. I ordered my kegs from the Beverage Factory. I ordered a door kegerator conversion kit from beveragefactory.com. Should be here by next weekend. That's my friend's getting his refrigerator. So that is huge for me. I'm making a batch tomorrow. I'm going to make a pale ale. I've got a pale ale fermenting right now that I just put some dry hops in. It's close to terminal gravity, so it's not going to push the aromas out of it anymore. But I put those hops in it. I'm going to leave them for 5 to 7 days. I saw some studies that says 1 to 3 days is best for aroma, but I'm going to leave it there until we get that new kegging system. We put that in. I don't want to bottle it. So these 2 batches hopefully can finish around the same time. I'm going to put them in kegs and get them on a new kegerator. So long story there. Now, what I want to talk about in the core of this episode, obviously that was a long time talking about my own homebrew. If you're interested, I'm going to name my homebrewed pale ale Hometown Pale Ale. My homebrew, the brewery's name is Tapped Out Brewing, but I want most of my beers' names to be something local to Nebraska or to give you just kind of a warm hometown kind of feeling. And Hometown Pale Ale just kind of feels right, or Front Porch Pale Ale, something like that. Just kind of feels right. So the bulk of this episode I want to talk about, I've got 2 pale ales on tap. I've got 4 County Pale Ale from Kinkaider Brewing out of Broken Bow, Nebraska. And I've got, you can't see it because my lighting is let me see. Well, there we go. That's a little better. Lemon Drop Pale Ale from Zipline Brewing out of Lincoln, Nebraska. I want to talk about these 2 beers. I love both of these breweries. I've been to both of them a handful of times. They are similar distance away from me. Broken Bow is an hour 20. Zipline Lincoln is close to 2 hours away from me. So I've got them both here. I don't know if the cameras are going to do it much justice, but in this hand, what I'm wiggling here, which is my left hand right now, I've got Kinkaider's 4 County. And in the right hand here, I've got the Lemon Drop from Zipline. And off the top, I don't have a terrible amount of information on either one of them. I don't know the IBU on Ziplines, but it says lemon candy aromas spring from this golden pale ale, while copious additions of lemon drop and citra hops provide a burst of crisp citrus zest. I would look it up right now. Actually, let's look it up right now. We'll look it up on Beer Advocate or whatever. Just want to know what kind of IBU this thing is working with. And the reason why I want to talk about this, so Beer Advocate gives it an 84 out of 100. Looks like we're working with, it does not say the IBU. Does it? Well, anyway, it's 6% alcohol by volume. Says to serve it at 47 degrees in a tulip, basically. I've got them both in my Catamount IPA glass. Anyway, well, let's look at Zipline's website. Okay, Zipline Brewing Pale Ale Lemon Drop. Yeah, I don't see the IBUs on the thing. Anyway, what I want to talk about with these two beers is basically my own brewing philosophy and what I want to do with the brews that I make with my home brew, which every home brewer hopes to make their own brewery in the future. Maybe I can make that happen if I'm dedicated enough. Maybe not, probably not, but I'm going to try. They both smell super, super good. They both smell really, really good. The lemon drop, now it's got a lot of lemon drop hops in it, but maybe it's the name a little bit. There's a ton of lemon in it. There's a little bit of like grassy smell that's coming from the lemon drop one. Not necessarily grassy, but if you've ever held pellet hops in your hand, you can get like the aroma you're supposed to get from them, the grapefruit, the citrus, the mango, the tango, all of that jazz. But then there's also like the vegetable, because it's like a vegetable. It's like the vegetableness of it. I kind of smell some vegetable happening in the lemon drop pale ale from Zipline. And then on the flavor, you can't get a good look at it with the glass. You can tell that the Kinkaider is a little bit darker than the lemon drop. They probably both are a little bit higher than what the BJCP guidelines say that it should be for Lovibond for a pale ale, which I think is nuts. I think that's maybe they fall right in it, right at the tippy top of it. But some of the best pale ales that I've ever had are higher in Lovibond than what the BJCP guidelines say it should be. And it's a fucking American pale ale. So I think that really the BJCP guidelines should raise that Lovibond, raise that darkness meter for pale ales, because sure, like 8-bit pale ale from Tallgrass Brewing, it falls within it, and a lot of them do, but my favorites are a lot of times they're a little darker. They have more crystal malt. They have more caramel malt. The malt flavor is higher in a lot of them. Anyway, let me taste this lemon drop from Zipline, and I should have brought it has like a lemon. You ever had a cough drop that had a little bit of a lemon to it? A lemon cough drop. It's kind of got like that medicinal taste at the end there, and I'm not a huge fan of it. Let me take. I wish I had a palate cleanser, but we're gonna take a taste of the 4 County. Yeah, 4 County. We get it to your nose, you tip it up, and it's just bursting with the citrus, a more well-rounded citrus smell than the lemon drop. It's got a little bit of that grapefruit, a little bit of orange, just like the pure citrus kind of acidic smell from citrus and zestiness. It's got that going on. But then when it hits your tongue, the bitterness is a lot more smooth than what the lemon drop has going on. And I prefer the 4 County here. Another thing, the bitterness is more smooth in the 4 County, but also the 4 County has more residual sweetness. So, a lot of beers, if you just go to Brewer's Friend, and you put in a recipe, the standard finishing gravity is at 1.010. I feel like the lemon drop is closer to that 1.010 than the 4 County, and the 4 County is somewhere between 1.010 and 1.020, right? So the 4 County has more residual sweetness, and I feel that. I feel like it's there. Maybe it's not. I listened to a podcast recently by Brewlosophy where they said that identical beers with one has a higher finishing gravity than the other because they mashed one higher than the other, they did not pass a test. People, 6 out of 25 were able to pick out the beer that was mashed differently than the other 2 beers. They did a triangle test, so 2 of them were the same, 1 was not. And so that's lower than statistically significant. But I really do believe that this beer from Kinkaider has more residual sweetness, has a higher final gravity than the lemon drop pale ale. I recently did a video review of 4 County Pale Ale, and I gave it a 4.5, I believe. I think I gave it, I don't remember exactly. I know I took away points because I said it was a little watery. Not true. That's not true anymore. Initially, it probably was. It was the same day bottle, same day arrived to me beer. And I think that maybe it just needed to age a little bit more. Of course, beers that are hop forward are a little bit fragile, but I feel like it just needed just a touch more aging because I've drank it since that day and it's better now than it was then. I think the other reason I took away 0.25 points was just because it's not a perfect pale ale. But man, it's not too thin. It's phenomenal. I still cannot give it a perfect 5, but I'm going to up it. The next time I rate it on Untappd, I'm going to give it a 4.75 because that caramel malt residual sweetness, because it does have a fucking amazing smell with the vast variety of hops and the hop aromas that are in it. It's just phenomenal. Now, this Lemon Drop Pale Ale, I've been knocking it down a peg because I don't think it's as good as Four County. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but the bitterness is a lot more biting. It is a lot more perceptible and present. It's not as smooth. So I don't know when they added the hops, what's going on with it exactly, if it's that residual sweetness, if it's the timing of when they added the hops, but I have to negate like a half a point just for that. And then I like the more caramel malts in my pale ales, and it's teetering on the brink. Maybe this, I don't know, has 9 Lovibond, maybe 10, so it's just on the edge there. I want it to be like fucking 12. Bring that up. Bring that residual sweetness up. Bring that caramel malt in here. Let's have everything dance a little bit more. Fun gimmick with the Lemon Drop name, but also I have to take away 0.25 points from every Zipline beer because I think their branding is just so boring, super boring. And look at that branding compared to the Four County, where the artistry in the Four County Pale Ale is just, it's head and shoulders above Zipline. So maybe I would give the Lemon Drop a 3.75. If it wasn't local to Nebraska, I might give it less than that because it's just not great. There isn't anything about it that really sticks out. The aroma is really good, the initial punch, but then the vegetation kind of smell, it's there. Someone else should tell me if they can smell it as well, but I really feel like it's there. Whether I'm justifying it correctly or not, I'm giving Zipline's Lemon Drop Pale Ale a 3.75 and Kincaid's Four County Pale Ale a 4.75. There's just, I've never had the perfect pale ale. If Untappd went in 0.1s, it'd get a 4.9, but I just cannot, at this point in my beer tasting life, rate anything, at least on video with descriptions, a 5.0. Now, there are a few beers that I've rated a 5.0 on Untappd, but here's a little bit of justification for that. I don't have to justify it when I'm not using my real voice. If it's on an app, I don't even have to put a reason, just fucking slide that over to 5. I'm super loving it right now. And that's a reminder for myself that if I can get that beer again, to go and try it again and see if it's a 5.0 again the next time I try it. Now, a lot of what gets a 5.0 versus a 4.75 has to do with my personal preference in style. So a Berliner Weiss is more likely to get a 5.0 than any other style, period. Raspberry Jam by Tallgrass Brewing out of Manhattan, Kansas gets a 5.0. That beer, I can't think of a way to make that beer better. I just can't. And another reason why maybe it gets a 5.0 is I've never brewed myself a Berliner Weiss, and I know that they're more difficult. You have to do some you can do some kettle souring where you boil it initially. You pull the wort, you boil it initially, then you just let it sit for a day, and you let it, Pediococcus or Lactobacillus, you let it sit in there for a day, 24 hours to 48 hours, and then you just start your brew day like it was a whole brand new brew day. I've never tried it. I haven't tried it yet. And so since I haven't, I don't know exactly how I could refine Raspberry Jam by Tallgrass Brewing. It's a 5.0 for me, man. That beer, it's like candy. It's like sugar. It's so fucking good. If you haven't tried it, go give that a shot. Super, super good from Tallgrass Brewing. This episode has been all over the place. I really know it has. I want to provide something that you want to listen to that you want to hear about craft brewing. You want to possibly hear about my life, my journey through craft brew. Tonight, I'm enjoying some pale ales. Tomorrow, I'm going to drink some Kincaidor 4 County Pale Ale while I brew my own pale ale because I want to be inspired by this beer. And I want to try to pick out ways I can improve my own pale ale by drinking this beer slowly, surely, sensually, perhaps. Ooh. And hopefully I can record my journey through brewing some craft beer. I've got a couple of cameras around. I need to get another tripod, and I can just put a camera on myself and record my homebrews. The truth be told, the reason why I don't record more of my homebrews is because I live in my apartment, right? It gets messy sometimes, especially when my girlfriend leaves me alone. My apartment gets messy, and when you start a brew day, it gets even messier. So I don't want people to judge me the wrong way based on my messiness, because I'm an intelligent person. I'm a nice person. I'm a compassionate person. I'm lots of good things, but one thing that's negative about me is I'm not that organized in my lifestyle. I've got a lot going on. I've got a real 8-to-5 job, and I've got 2 serious hobbies. That doesn't allow for much time to worry about where I'm putting my fucking shoes. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, that basically does it for what I wanted to do with this video. If you had any enjoyment out of it whatsoever, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll do this sporadically. Thanks for joining me, guys. Namaste.